Chicago, Illinois is a city of big buildings, big shoulders, and big stars, with a tremendous amount of black history, and just has a great personality all its own. It's one of the great cities of America. I'm Nelson George for BlackAtlas.com. Welcome to Chicago.
Well, I ain't been to Chicago since I was 22. I grew up on those streets there, did what I had to do.
One of the many things Chicago is known for in reference to African American history is media. Chicago's been the home of great black media, to Chicago Defender, all the way to Oprah Winfrey. But one of the backbones of black media in Chicago is Johnson Publications, the home of Ebony and Jet magazine, founded by John Johnson in 1942. It's a landmark institution in black media and always will be. I'm standing here in the corner of Randolph and Carpenter here in Chicago, Harpo Studios. I had the pleasure of coming in here earlier this year with Chris Rock to promote good hair. It's a beautiful facility inside. She's only gonna do the show about another year or so, so hey, put your thing on that list, come on down. It's worth coming to see one of the most successful black women in television in action. The Kennedys had Hyannisport. Bush had, Texas, his ranch in Texas. And for the Obama family and the Obama presidency, behind me is Camelot. 5420 South Greenwood, on the corner of Greenwood and Hyde Park, is the home of Michelle and the girls and the president. It's seemingly not super protected, but I don't really know. There could be 15 kinds of cameras on me right now. If you're coming to Chicago, you gotta come by the Obama house, and it's actually right here in a beautiful section of town called Kenwood. I'm standing in front of the statue of Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest basketball player ever, and perhaps the greatest basketball player that ever will be. It's funny because they're playing the Cavs in the playoffs here today, and so all these Cleveland fans are here talking about LeBron. But for anyone who's a sports fan, a Chicago fan, it's about MJ. When you go to Chicago, one of the great places to have soul food is Army and Lou's.
French fries, mashed potatoes with gravy.
It's the oldest black-owned soul food restaurant, black-owned restaurant in the Midwest, celebrating its 65th year in operation. Fried chicken is great, service is great, great atmosphere. You gotta run on through. The Regal Theater behind me is one of those jewels of black music history. Like the Apollo in New York or the Uptown in Philly, everybody and anybody who's ever been in black music has played the Regal Theater. This mural back here just depicts a few of the great names who performed on its stage. Probably what makes it most important for today's audiences is that the Regal Theater is the place where Joe Jackson piled all his kids up from Gary, Indiana, drove them up to Chicago. The first shows of the Jackson 5 happened in the stage of the Regal Theater before they went anywhere else. Plays, gospel shows, concerts are still happening here, so the Regal Theater is both about our past and about our present of black music culture. The DeSable Museum of African American History. It's in the Hyde Park section of Chicago. It's got a very strong permanent collection of artifacts of black culture, a lot of them by Chicago artists and Chicago history, as well as traveling collections such as the current one on the Black Panthers. You come to Chicago, if you're going to go to any spots that really deal with black history, the DeSable Museum, it's got to be on your list. Chicago's always had a well-earned reputation for rough and tumble politics, and no one embodied that more than Harold Washington, Chicago's first black mayor. He came up through the political ranks in Chicago, was a congressperson, then won election as a mayor in 1983. His first term was full of fights with the white power structure here. They called them the council wars because the city council was split between Washington and his opponents. But despite all of that, he won re-election in 1987, and in fact, had pretty much somewhat unified the city. The sad thing is that not even a year into his term, his second term, he had a heart attack and died. But his legacy of political empowerment and just being feisty and willing to go the extra mile has made him a beloved figure here in Chicago. And so this statue here and this cultural center is named after him. And there are many buildings in Chicago that honor the memory of Harold Washington, Chicago's first black mayor. A lot of cities have, good clubs and jazz clubs, that kind of stuff. But Chicago has a diversity of entertainment options for nighttime. And one of the most important ones is Second City, which is behind me. Second City is a legendary comedy ensemble, been in business over 50 years. Everyone on SNL basically comes through here. In fact, the people at SNL audition almost all the talent who go on SNL here in Second City in Chicago. It's that important to American comedy. So if you're in Chicago and you want to see some improvisational comedy, you want to see some people come up with crazy bits at the top of their heads, Second City is the place to be. People think of New York as a great theater town, but Chicago definitely competes and maybe tops New York in certain aspects. Chicago is a place where almost all the great plays in America come through before they make it to Broadway. David Mamet, who's probably America's leading playwright, is a Chicago boy, learned his craft in Chicago and Chicago theater. In fact, the Steppenwolf behind me is one of the most important theaters in the country for developing new playwrights, new plays, and new actors. In fact, one of the most promising African-American playwrights in the country, Taryn Alvin McCraney, he's got a cycle of plays going under the banner of the Brother-Sister Plays. He's got his production here in Chicago. It's not surprising because Steppenwolf is a great theater. Chicago's a great theater town. If you come to Chicago, you must experience Chicago theater. Chicago's a big city with many different aspects to it. You can have a big, thick pizza, you can have amazing soul food, you can see great Black history museums, you can see amazing theater. Or you can just go visit Michelle and Barack's house. Nelson George for BlackAtlas.com. Catch you in the air.